Hi there. In this video, I'm going to talk about the difference between a ball, gate, and a globe valve. I do apologize up front for the video quality. This information I'm providing is what I've experienced. I'm not a professional plumber by no means, so I'm just trying to give an opinion. I hope you find the information valuable or useful. So let's get started. Right off the bat, in my previous videos, I've talked about what ball valves are, but just as a little recap, this is a typical ball valve. Okay, basically they're made of brass. When the handle is 90 is parallel to the body, the valve is open. When the valve handle is turned 90 degrees to the body, the valve is closed. Okay, you find these at your typical big box store in various sizes. And they work well, and they're my preferred valve for most plumbing applications. Okay. Now, one that you may have in your home that's very typical is what's called a globe valve. Looks something like this. Very simple device. Basically, there's a plastic handle, and the body here is made of brass or bronze. And in this case, this is a soldered connection. This is a half-inch pipe. I've actually destroyed it, taking it off my old scrap plumbing pile. But basically, it works. That right now the valve is closed, where this little part here is non-existent. And when I open it up, as you can see here, this part shows itself. This is the stem. Okay. So to open the valve, generally, to open it, you want to go to the left, or lefty-loosey, or counterclockwise, and then righty-tighty, which would be, of course, closing the valve. These valves basically work where there's a hole right in the middle, so water will come in from one side, and it'll either go up, like up from the bottom, and then flow to the other side, or come from the top and flow down and go out this way. All right. Either way, many valves do different things. But the principle is that there's a little two chambers here, and the rubber seal that basically there's a hole there. This rubber seal right here is what compresses down inside that hole to make the valve leak proof when it's in the off position. Okay, the reason why that this has failed, this is actually a failed valve. Is that right here, this valve, the rubber O-ring has been compressed to the point where it doesn't make a seal anymore. It's actually deteriorated to the point that no matter how hard you turn the valve, it does not turn off the water anymore. So it leaks. The secondary rubber you see here provides a seal that when this thing is in the open position, okay, what happens is, as you can see, there's this rubber here that when you compress the handle all the way down or close it, this rubber makes contact with the bottom, making that waterproof or stopping the water flow. But when the valve is opened, okay, that other rubber washer you see basically limits the water from coming out the top here, okay, because water pressure is still always in this area when the valve is open. But over here, the second rubber washer, and I'll just show that again, this little washer right here, that makes the seal so when the valve is open, again, it doesn't leak. Now, for those who have these and they leak, right, if you can turn the water off upstream, your main valve, for example, if that's the one you have that would turn off the water to your fixture that's leaking, you can buy a kit to replace these rubber washers for the valve company who makes the valve directly, and you can repair it, and you can, well, hopefully put it back together leak proof, and the valve was good. The valve was good again. A lot of people have these and they've had no issues, and I still have a few that are leaking, but the leak has subsided if I don't touch it. I'm a believer that if I ever need the valve, I don't want it to leak, and I don't want to experience a leak when I need the valve to be turning off, and then the water doesn't turn off. So in my case, whenever I'm doing a plumbing renovation or retrofit, I remove these and put in the ball valve. With this particular valve itself, if you look at a typical ball valve, okay, you see here the flow goes basically right through the valve. And as you turn or close, the valve shuts off the water completely. But with a full port ball valve, you have no loss of pressure or volume of water through the pipe. Okay, it doesn't inhibit the water flow. Again, in fully open position. But by nature of this design of a globe valve, it actually does limit the water flow because water has to, like I said, water has to travel from the vertical, then go down, and then go out the other direction, or it comes this way and then goes up and then flows this direction. Now, by that design alone, it limits water pressure and water flow. That's it. Now, you may have water pressure that's great and you have no issues, or you haven't noticed it. Now, I'm not going to say if you remove this and put a ball valve, you will notice dramatic changes. In my case, I probably won't, but what I will notice is that if I have this fixture and I open up another faucet at the same time that requires water, probably you may see a little bit of a difference, especially if this is your main water valve. Yeah, you may see a big difference in terms of if it's the main water valve, because you have this the water has to go either up or down to get to the other part of the pipe. By limiting that, you may find that again with a ball valve, okay, it could enhance the water flow to your fixture, house, piping, whatever. But the beauty of this design, and I give it full credit, is that if you have to trickle water or throttle water, you want to limit the amount of water flow in the pipe. This thing is a breeze to do. You can micro adjust how much water goes in or out of this pipe just by turning the handle. All right. A little bit of a maintenance tip: if you have these and you want to make sure that when it's fully closed, the water is off. As soon as the valve is all the way down, or you've turned it all the way to the right by hand, no tools here, just take the valve a little bit and go like maybe a tenth of a turn, and just ever so gently just kind of turn it a little bit to make sure that the valve is seated. Again, you can only know if the water is off by testing whatever's downstream of this valve. All right. For fully opened or normally opened operations, if this valve is normally open in your application, what I recommend is open it all the way gently. Don't over over reef on it to open it. And again, if it's fully opened, just turn it ever so slightly, an eighth of a turn, tenth of a turn, just a little bit closed. This way you're not leaving the valve for a long time in the fully open position. So if any water scale or anything crud gets up in there, it could seize the valve and make it inoperable. All right. But as a general recap, they're great for water flow, like limiting. You can throttle water. They're easy to adjust. You can repair them if they do leak, but they do reduce water pressure and water flow just by their basic design. Okay. Now, high pressure can overcome this limitation, but generally, that's not really going to happen. So if you can put a valve that doesn't have this restriction of water flow, it's advantageous to you. But if you need them to limit water flow for a garden hose, for example, they're great for that. But I recommend if you're going to put a ball valve in front of it or upstream. So if this thing ever has a problem, you have another valve that you can turn off, to service this or remove it if there's ever a problem. All right. But like I said, they're decent, but there are better, in my opinion. All right. The other valve you may have is a gate valve. Now, these, in my opinion, are very good. Okay. And basically, here's what a gate valve looks like. This is a very large gate valve. I couldn't find a small one or more typical application, but the one I'm showing you demonstrates a typical gate valve operation. Okay, basically here's where the water flows through. As I turn the handle to the right or righty-tighty, the gate is closing, as you can see it there, and limiting water flow. If I turn it left or lefty-loosey or obviously counterclockwise, the valve or the gate rises and water flows through. This design provides you no limitation of water flow or pressure when the valve is fully opened. Again, if the valve is full port, okay? And this is great because now you can have full port, the water flows and pressure is great. And to limit it, you can turn the valve closed or open to limit how much water you want through your piping system. A few things to realize here. This does not use rubber as a seal. This tends to use either graphite or Teflon packing that is controlled under this nut. If I tighten the nut, it compresses some kind of wedge to compress against the packing, and it makes the seal against this stem. Okay, because again, in the fully open position, right, which it is right now, water still comes up into this upper chamber here, and to prevent water from coming out the top, the packing makes a seal against this stem, and you have your seal. A few downsides of this. Where this actual unit makes contact, if I fully close the valve, you're going to see now this gate is fully closed. Now this is a brand new valve that's never been used, so I know that if I install this right now, the valve will close 100%. But over the life of the valve, depending on the water and depending, on if the valve's ever been turned or not, what will happen is there's a lower section here where the valve gate has to go further than where the piping goes to limit that water. And in the base of the valve here, stuff may collect, scale, minerals, whatever, that when you have to turn off the valve and close the water flow, that could limit the actual gate from going all the way down, thus again limiting water from being 100% turned off. Also, because water is always upstairs in the upper chamber of this valve, water is again splashing minerals and getting stuff on those the gate little discs that are in there, and again, as that comes down to fully close, right, it could then limit how good it seals, because again there's stuff caked on that disc that doesn't make a proper seal by wedging against the inner groove that makes the seal for the valve itself. But like I said, if you have no issue with your gate valve, and again this is a rising stem. A lot of them do not have a rising stem, so in a sense you don't know if it's fully open unless you turn it all the way counterclockwise until it stops. And that's where I recommend the second thing. With the globe, when it's fully open, or you can't turn it no more by hand, you never use a pliers or whatever to test the operation, you fully open it and then just turn an eighth of a turn to the right or to the righty to close it. This way, again, it's not fully in the full up or open position. Same as if it's all the way down, okay, with the gate, because there's a metal to metal contact, as you turn it, just gently, just close a little bit more, and just to see what happens if the water, if it's fully closed, all right. But this has a lot more. This is a lot easier to feel when it's closed because there's metal to metal. Where the rubber, if you over tighten the globe, you could prematurely break the seal because you're over tightening. All right. Like I said, great for water flow. It's easy to adjust, but the fact that you have to turn it multiple times to either fully raise or fully lower the gate is, to me, a limitation. But if you need to control water, I will admit, hands down, these two valves, the globe and the gate, are way better than a ball valve to throttle your water supply. All right. So they're all basically the same price at most home centers. They're all generally sold at most home centers. So if you have them, great. Just every so often open them, close them, be gentle. Don't use pliers and wrenches to fully open them. If they're not working, turn off the water upstream. Again, disassemble the valve to either fix it, replace it, or change it out. And like I said, from my experience, the ball valve is the one that you want to install. So please post any questions or comments. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Again, sorry for the video quality. Yeah, let me know, and I'll post more videos soon. Thank you very much, and talk to you soon.